Caribbean is often described as the most tourism-dependent region in the world. A titan is described as one that stands out for greatness of achievement, one who is influential in his field. I'm Marline Stephenson Dalley. Welcome to our podcast. We call it Jamaica's Tourism Titans. It's about the movers and shakers of the industry, men and women who have contributed to its growth and development in Jamaica, the region, and indeed the world. Hello. I am so delighted to welcome you to this, our second season of Jamaica's Tourism Titans. I'm Marline Stephenson Dalley. We want to just send a big shout out and thank you to all our listeners who have joined us. And for those that part of season 1, we had all of 13 episodes. And we had the folks over in the United States of America, in Canada, Colombia. Hello to our friends in the UK and Austria, the Cayman Islands, Ireland, Argentina. Shout out to our friends in Spain. Hola, bienvenido. And of course in Costa Rica, Armenia, Hong Kong, Germany, and more. Thank you so much for making Jamaica's Tourism Titans your favorite podcast. And today, as we get into season 2, I'm so delighted to welcome to the program a certified hospitality trainer and a certified quality assurance professional. He is our Tourism Service Excellence Awards National Champion for Jamaica in the year 2018 in the individual category. The same year, he won the Jamaica Hotel and Tourism Association Manager of the Year. And there's so much more. He's dapper, always well-styled. Conroy Thompson, howdy, welcome.
Howdy. How are you?
I am well enough, and I'm so delighted that you're able to join us for today's podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Now, who is Conroy Thompson, really? At the heart, that's a big question.
It's a very big question. Yeah. But in a nutshell, someone who is very, very passionate about life, and that came in the latter years, but very, very passionate about life, very passionate about development, especially young people development of skills, very passionate about this industry, the tourism industry, really and truly bread and butter in every single way for me, and was someone who really loves excellence. Yes. I love seeing, breathing, living excellence.
Now, you hail from a little community called Cooper's Pen in Trelawney, and that is for those persons who know the geography of the Montego Bay Resort. That would be close to what is now the Royalton Hotel.
Actually, the Royalton Hotel is literally in front of my house. Because adjacent to the Royalton, we had a little village there called Bamboo Village. Mm-hmm. That's where a lot of craft vendors would gather and sell their wares to tourists, to the then Trelawney Beach Hotel.
Yes.
That turned to Starfish Trelawney, Breezes Trelawney, and now it's the Royalton.
And now it's the Royalton.
Yes, and that was really my introduction to tourism, because we live right there. Everybody in that community had a stall or a shop. We call it a bamboo shop, and we would sell everything. I learned craft there. My father used to make those bracelets out of turtle shells. Was telling somebody the other day when I saw one, I'm like, wow, I haven't seen that in years. Straw baskets, hats. I learned to do everything because my grandmother, who raised me, had a shop there. And of course, that was what she had to use to make
a living. Yes.
It was fun memories. And
what's your fondest memory of being in Cooper's Pen in Trelawney? Is that you were born in Trelawney?
Born in Trelawney.
Yes. Okay.
Raised in Trelawney. My fondest memory is going to still be Bamboo Village. I remember once Trelawney Beach Hotel had a photo shoot, and they wanted some children from the community to to go in the brochure. And I was one of them that they had selected years. I was around 5 or 6.
Wow.
I remember I had to go, because we was playing all day. We played all day on that beach. And, they're like, come, wash your foot, man. And iron up your foot and stuff like that. And, because we went over to the hotel. It really and truly was a place that was more than the name village is a village.
Yes.
Because that's where all the kids would go, and everybody in that village raised the child.
Yes.
I remember one time I passed out of the vendors who was very close to my grandmother, and I didn't see her. And she came home and told my grandmother that I passed her and didn't say hi.
Didn't say hello.
And of course, grandma gave it to me.
Yes, because in those days you don't pass your elders.
You don't pass your
and don't acknowledge
and
them.
Don't acknowledge them.
Wow. Your grandmother would have been a very key, major influence in your life, in your upbringing. And share with us a little bit of your journey in terms of just the kind of youngster you were going off to school. What sort of attitudes informed your behavior, and how did you actually come to work in this tourism industry?
All right. So my grandmother was everything, mother and father for me. She took me at 4 going on 5 out of a situation that was not healthy at the time for me, and decided to raise me. She always instilled discipline. Take your book. That was her chant, day in, day out. We didn't have money or anything like that, like that. And she was like, you want to get out of here? Take your book. So it was education for me.
Yes.
She pushed that she pushed it all throughout. And I took it to school, and I was naturally quick. I catch on to things like a little bit faster than everybody else. And at one point, while it was celebrated in some quarters, the teachers loved a bright student and stuff. In some other quarters, like from the students' end now, it came back as a haunting.
Yes, it's to show off.
Yeah, haunting experience for me to show off, but it was not really show off. I just knew the thing. I remember one summer, in high school, I had to go to the library in Falmouth, to write out the information because I couldn't afford the textbooks. So naturally, I would have known stuff going into school. And I remember the first day, I was so excited, senior in high school and grade 10 and getting there. And the teacher asked a question and I answered. And from the back of the class, some of my fellow classmates were like, hey, that's why he's a nerd, I'm a nerd, he now got 15 and all of these things.
Right, so peer group pressure started.
Yeah, it started. And for any parent that is listening, I want you to understand that you need to listen to your children and pay attention. Because what I did that year, I derailed my entire school life up to that point, based on the fact that I wanted to fit in. I did not want to be known as the nerd. I did not want to be known as the bright boy. He's so bright and whatever. I wanted to fit in and feel like I'm a part of. And I started skipping school. I mean, my grandmother didn't have money to send me to school. And when she did, I used to use that money to pretend as if I'm going to school, and then just hang out with these folks that I wanted to be so,
feel a part of.
Yes, because they were always, doing something, going to some party and stuff like that. And at the end of that school year, that was the very first time my father showed up for my report card. That year.
That year wasn't so
that
good, right?
year, and it was more than not so good. I had to repeat the grade. When he came, he was like, this is what I've heard all of these things, because he wasn't in my life like that. It's like, he was so confused because he kept hearing about this bright child that he has. And the report card is, and I remember him saying to me, these numbers are a lot of numbers, because there was no grade above 36.
Oh my Lord.
And I mean, when I went back to school, needless to say, cut a long story short, the same persons that I really wanted to hang out with, They got through with lower grades than I did, on to the next grade. And I looked at it that day and I was like, okay, you have something they don't have. They're using what they have, which is money. You're not using what you have, which is your brain. And that day,
that changed your life
immediately. And to show you, when my father decided that every year after that he's going to come for the report card. So he did not even wait until the end of the school year. He came when that December.
End of the semester.
Yes, and he came in and my grades had bounced back immediately. And he looked at me so he's like, I don't understand. But I did not tell anybody what I did. It was not until I published my first book was when teachers found out what I did that year. My siblings and everybody called me like, that was what happened that year, because it was confusing to everyone. But
doing well, and then all of a sudden you're just doing terribly.
Exactly.
And they didn't know exactly why.
Yeah.
Right. We're going to talk about that book. We're going to come back to that first book. But from a professional perspective, you spoke about your grandmother personally impacting your life. From a professional perspective, who are the persons who would have impacted you throughout your career? Where did you start working first in the industry?
All right.
And so on.
All right. So I started out first at a tiny property at the time called FDR Pebbles.
I remember FDR Pebbles.
Down the road, literally walking distance from home. Because I lived smack between Starfish Trelawney and FDR Pebbles.
Yes.
And you get on the road, it's either left or right. Right? And didn't have much impact at that property. I didn't stay there that long.
By then you had completed high school, but,
I would have
no further education at that time.
Exactly.
Okay.
A matter of fact, I'd started NCU and only could have done 1 year on the work program. But it was so expensive to live on the dorm, I worked to work. So whatever little money I worked, I could not pay the school fees. So I was like, you know what, let me go find a job. And I came back home to Trelawney, left Mandeville back down, and FDR Pebbles. I was everything, front office, operator, everything, reservations. I learned everything in that one job, which was...
So you have areas like housekeeping and maintenance.
Everything.
And culinary, so now you're food and beverage.
Everything, because it was such a small property. You had to touch everywhere.
Yes.
And it so happened that there were two of us up for the same job. And we had to prove ourselves, and they made it known, hey, at the end of the month, we can only keep one of you, that type of thing. And I remember the front office manager one day came in and she was like, what's up, Rookie of the Year? You're just so quick. And, but I wanted more.
So did you manage to
be
the one selected?
I was the one that was selected. I was the one that was selected. But then I knew that there was more that I wanted, even from that age. Like I need a bigger space.
Yes.
To take up that space.
And that space turned out to be
Starfish Trelawney. Yes.
But in the vicinity.
I walked to work. I enjoyed that job. I was telling someone the other day, I remember going to work 7 days a week and did not even care. I mean, on my day off, I put on my clothes and I'm over there. Because there was just so much that I wanted to soak up, so much that I wanted to learn.
What area did you get into at Starfish?
I started as guest relations coordinator. And so I handled all of the guest issues. And I remember the hotel manager at the time, Stephen Bettel, from the Bahamas. He asked me one day, where are you from? And I told him, and he was like, no, you're not. I said, yes, I am. I'm from that community. He's like, you don't tell anybody that. I was like, why? And he's like, because everybody else that I've met from there, they don't. I said, well, guess what? I'm going to be that example that you can reach for more than just being somebody who just hang out at the wall side. We call it the wall side, just to try to get to marry somebody to go off to the States, which was what it was. Which
was one of the means.
That
young
most of the young men, would do. So professionally, again, I had to go back to my grandmother's discipline for work, and the integrity part of things. She will always say to me, listen, regardless of where, when you go there, if somebody's doing something wrong, and if a lot of them are doing something wrong and you know that it is wrong, don't do it because it is wrong. And for that, that's why over the years I grew, so close to so many people would have taken me under their wings.
Who are
Carol
some of these
Burke.
people? Yes.
Yeah, man. Carol Burke, Shireen Steer. She was the HR manager for Starfish at the time. Carol Burke, Carmelita Overson, HR again. Janet Wedderburn, Michael Weatherly, in the event side of things. And of course, I had people like Janet Silvera, who would have met me early and always call on me to do certain things and kind of nurture me in that way. There
are many.
There are so many.
From Starfish, before we take the break,
Yes.
tell me where was the next stop? And because you're now on a growth path.
Oh, yes.
And you're trying to simultaneously work, but also simultaneously to plan your resume in terms of
Exactly.
your academic
Yes.
journey.
Exactly.
So what was the next stop?
The next stop after Starfish would have been Grand Bahia Principe. Yeah. Yeah. I went there as their events manager. A former GM that worked at Starfish for a short time came back to Jamaica at Grand Bahia and reached out to me saying that, if I wanted to come up because they could use my talent up there. And I went, and it was a very interesting ride at Grand Bahia.
All right. Well, when we come back, we're going to talk about a little bit your time at Half Moon.
Oh, yes.
The Half Moon, because
The
I
Half
believe
Moon.
that is where you really got your groove.
Yes.
And spread your wings and
Yes.
spent how many years?
8 years.
8
plus,
years.
yeah.
8+ years. And this is, although you're a young man, you would have been in the industry now for 20 odd years. Yeah.
23.
Yes. Time flies.
Oh, yes.
All right, so we're going to take a little break right now. Our special guest in studio is Conroy Thompson. Conroy is an author. And when we come back, we want to touch a little bit on the books that you have written so far.
Yeah.
And I want you to tell us a little bit about the Minds of Jamaica mentorship program
Yes.
that you are also a part of.
Yes,
We'll take a
definitely.
break. Jamaica's Tourism Titans will be right back.
In tourism, the people are the product. Yes, they are one of our industry's most important assets. They help create memorable lifetime experiences. They, through their service, make the difference. We share the stories of their challenges and triumphs, of what makes them tick, of who they really are, just to inspire you to act positively. You too can be an ambassador for tourism and our country and become a Jamaican tourism titan. Start today.
TPDCo's Explore Jamaica has insights into licensed tourism entities across Jamaica. Visit the Google or Apple Play Store and download the app today. Welcome back to Jamaica's Tourism Titans. Our special guest is Conroy Thompson. And Conroy has been talking with us a little bit about his journey in tourism and some of the challenges and certainly some of the successes that he has so far had. I want to talk about your time at Half Moon and how that has really made Conroy into Conroy.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Half Moon, such a special place. That's where, under the guidance of my director, Sharon Logan, when she hired me, I remember traveling from Kingston for that interview, and in that interview she was like, "There's just something about you. I don't know what it is, but there's just something about you. I don't know." And she kept saying it, and I'm like, okay, I was going in for the role of account executive in charge of the European market, all of the wholesale partners in sales and marketing for Europe. And shortly after, before I got back to Kingston, she called me, and she was like, you got the job. And when I got there, I remember she would throw me into everything. I mean, there was like everything that the hotel wants. She's like, okay, Conroy will do it. And I'm like, she's like, because you
Challenging
can do.
you.
Oh yes,
Challenging you.
you can do it. I'm like, okay. I remember one of the things that I took on was to do a music video for the property using all of the executives. And I sat at my desk. I rewrote a song to Welcome to Jam Rap, but I used Welcome to Half Moon and then rewrite all the lyrics about Half Moon. And then I got a camera and I went around and I shot the video for it, and then we showed it at our end of the year. And it was it was just amazing. What
did it say? Welcome to Half Moon.
Yes, one.
If you want to try to sound like
I know, right?
Junior Gang.
It was, and it was so amazing how it sounded, because I just recorded it on my phone. But I had a coworker who dabbled into little studio stuff, so we created that studio vibe. Yes. And but again, she just pushed me into everything. I remember whenever she would come from senior executive meeting, and she have a grin on her face, and she's like, I'm like, what now? What did you do? And she's like, oh, we're going to ask you to do X. I'm like, okay, no problem. That for me, it pushed me beyond my comfort zone. And she saw the path that I really wanted, but was just too scared to go after. And I say that way because there was one year, there was a scholarship that the hotel does every year. And she saw the HR course on there. And she reached out, she said, you're going to do this course. I'm like, what? You don't want me in your department? Why are you forcing me? But she knew that HR training, all of that was naturally what I wanted to do, because the department trainings, I would do those and stuff like that.
So you eventually got into training and then pursued your studies in HR up to the
master's level. Yes, 2 master's degree now.
And working on a doctoral program.
On the doctoral program, correct. And you know, she saw that, and when I took over training at Half Moon and made it my own in a way that engaged the learners, I remember whenever there's a lull, you would hear like the housekeepers, so Mr. T, when is the next training? You know, and that for me, it sparked that learning culture that we so wanted there. That is just, it's on another level. They're excited about coming to learn something.
What excites you about training?
So for me, it's what happens after the training. I remember once Miss Gordon from the Villas called me and she's like, your training working, you know? I was like, really? What happened? And she's like, well, I have a housekeeper who had a very, very difficult guest. And I watched her, and I watched how she was under pressure from this guest. And she said to me after she left, well, you know, Mr. Thompson said that we have to be professional all the time, you know, because I really wanted to curse out the guests, you know, but I just hear Mr. Thompson voice in my head, be professional, be professional. So for me, it's that satisfaction of seeing that change in behavior, that learning took place. That's what excites me and challenge me to raise the bar every single time. Because for me, this industry is so... It is not, for me right now, it is not even about what property. It is about getting everybody on that level where we know that we have to safeguard this industry.
Yes.
And we are the persons who are stewards of this industry at this point in time. And if we are going to prepare the future, we have to make sure that the future have something to be prepared for.
Yes.
You know? So.
I hear your passion, Conroy, and I know that passion is part of why you were selected as the National Tourism Service Excellence Awardee in 2018, and I was there when TPDCO, you know, had such a grand occasion, and when your teammates, your friends from Half Moon stormed the stage when your name was called. But tell me about the Minds of Jamaica mentorship program. What's that all about? I know you're a part of it.
Okay. In a nutshell, Minds of Jamaica, we are professionals who reach back for students who want to be guided in a career, on their career path.
Yes.
So we do career mentorship programs. So high school, persons who are leaving high school and persons who are graduating from college, they would reach out to us, and then we are paired with them, and then we kind of work through what it is that they want to do, the career choices,
Right.
point them to the right resources, because sometimes it's not even about the money, but the access
Right.
to what the resources are.
And also being a sounding board.
Oh, yes.
Being
Oh, yes.
able to guide and
Oh,
share your
yes.
own experiences
Exactly.
to guide them into the future.
Exactly.
So important.
It is important.
And of course, I also know that there is a program that you are very passionate about.
Oh, yes.
It's the other one is it Suit Up, Dress Up, Step Up Youth Outreach. And I guess all I have to do is just look across the room, and I know how that got its name, because you're always suited up, dressed up, and just always stepping out with your
Yes.
best foot forward.
Absolutely. That passion project of mine came about after writing my first book. I wanted something a little bit more impactful than just going into schools and to these different training institutions, and I wanted something a little bit more tangible. So I developed the program, have a scholarship now through it with all the proceeds from my books. Go to that project. Last year at the launch of my second book, I was able to make some impact that I never ever in my wildest dreams would have seen happen in front of me. And everybody who left that space last year at that launch left with a seed to go and impact somebody else's
Yes.
life, which is
Pay
very,
forward.
pay it forward.
Pay it
Because for me, I always say, if I can help someone to realize their dream, it will make their life a little bit easier than how I had my life.
Yes.
And, one less thing for them to worry about.
Yes.
And so suit up, dress up, step up, suit up, as you mentioned, suit up the mind.
Yes.
Yes, dress up. You are going out there.
Looking your best.
Yeah, looking
as well.
your best. And, a part of my thing as well is I offer clothing to persons who are going into the work world who don't have that type of resources. They're leaving school.
Yes.
And
How can people help? I mean, is there a way that if I wanted to help in this program, maybe I wanted to donate a suit for a young man? Or
Absolutely. All right. So you can reach out to me. My website is cdtstrategicsolutions.com. So cdtstrategicsolutions.com. You can go on my website, and then you can reach out to me there. Or I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, CD Thompson 100 on Instagram, or the Conroy Thompson on Facebook. You can reach out to me on there as well to help. And every year I look forward to something that can make an impact. So I'm looking forward to my launch of my next book, where I will also be handing over scholarships again to other students.
all right. So why do you write? Why do you write?
For me, it came from a place of release. Growing up the way that I grew up, there was a lot of unhealed trauma that I did not know was around, and it affected every area of my life, including my professional life. So in my earlier years, what I did not tell you was that I moved around a lot from jobs to jobs, because it was not until my father said it to me one day that, why is it that every time you're doing so well, you just up and leave? I just did not understand what it was. But what I later found out was that I did not want to feel too attached to some place and then get rejected right after.
Yes.
So I remember once Shireen Steer, the former HR manager for Starfish, mentioned to me that I was up for an award that year, and I resigned the next day.
Why would you do that?
And she couldn't understand. Nobody understood what it was. And my last book that I'm going to be releasing, The Courage of a Dreamer, speaks to those specifics as it relates to how those unhealed traumas can come back if you don't deal with them.
Wow.
You know?
So the first book, I had the opportunity of
Yes,
reading
of
the
reviewing.
manuscript
Yes,
even before it
yes.
was published,
Yes,
and it was
yes,
really
yes,
a wonderful
yes,
effort.
yes.
Tell us the name of both books.
Yes.
And where you can get these
Okay,
books.
of course. Rejected, Redirected for Purpose was the first book. That one chronicled my life vaguely. And I will say vaguely because the last book is a little bit more detailed. The second book, Believe, Made for More,
Yes.
is one of those books that you pick up whenever you are going through something. On any given day, there's a lesson to be
Lots
learned.
of nuggets.
Lots of nuggets. I
Yes.
mean, from lessons from the peacock that speaks to how you look at yourself, how you carry yourself, how you allow people to handle or mismanage you. That, just observing the peacocks that day on that farm, there was an entire lesson on that. So there are different lessons there. If not know when, that's one of the chapters. And dealing with that syndrome, what they call that syndrome again? Oh yes, man.
Imposter syndrome.
Oh yes.
I don't
Imposter
belong. Why am I
yes,
here?
why am I here?
Oh, somebody's
Yeah.
gonna say you're too enough.
Exactly.
Or you're too show off
Yes,
or whatever.
yes.
And in your heart,
Yeah.
with all of what you have experienced and your preparation,
know.
you belong.
Yeah, you know.
belong, and you have to claim your seat at the table.
You have to claim your seat at the
Yes.
table. And that's what Believe, Made for More is, that type of book that will just help you to conquer any day. The last one, The Courage of a Dreamer, that I'm putting out this July, was not the book that I wanted to write at this time. A matter of fact, I started the leadership book because I've always wanted to write a leadership book. So I started it, and I thought that was the book that was going to be next. And I took some time in December, and I went away for like 3 weeks in Canada, where I just shut down. I just did not want to do anything or do anything at all. And this nagging feeling just kept coming back. You need to deal with this. You need to deal with this. I'm like, deal with this. But it's a leadership book. That's the book, And believe you me, when I started writing that book, out of nowhere, people just started, they did not know that I'm working on a book, but out of nowhere, persons just started reaching out to me, talking about the same subjects.
Yes.
So
sometimes it's divine.
It is divine. I
Yes,
know
yes,
that much.
yes,
It is divine. And I cannot wait to share it. It's called The Courage of a Dreamer.
All right. And we know you are a dreamer,
yes,
Conroy.
Yes.
Quickly before we wrap up, what's your favorite thing to do?
Sleep. Sleep. That has become my best friend right now. Because as much as I go at it, because I'm always on the go,
Yes.
equally important is my time.
Rest and
for
rejuvenation.
Because then my mind is sharper in the mornings.
Yes.
And is ready to go again,
You know, the an executive hospitality consultant based at Round Hill Hotel and Villas.
Yes.
And you're writing and you're, doing motivational talks here and there and impacting the young people through these various programs that
Yes.
you're a part of.
Yes.
I believe you're also an ambassador with the I Believe
Absolutely.
initiative, and you've gotten an
Absolutely.
award from the Governor General for your achievement
Yes.
for the parish of St. James and all
James,
of. What's next? Where do we go
What's
from here?
next?
What's next?
Right now, I want to impact a wider tourism space in Jamaica.
Yes.
I take the time to go into different properties whenever I'm invited to speak to especially the young people and to help them understand what it is that we have here and the gem that we have here and how their impact will either make or break this industry.
Yes.
I also do a lot of leadership trainings. I'll be going off to St. Lucia next week to do some leadership trainings in a couple of properties over there, because that also is equally important. The leadership of the persons who are in this industry.
Yes.
And how we lead them and lead them well, and then of course another international speaking engagements. I should be in Toronto later this June, at the HR conference as a speaker there, talking about, different issues with HR and how as HR professionals we are more than just personnel and pushing the paper and hiring and firing.
Yes.
But HR really and truly is such an important area. And, it's for me to challenge HR professionals to step outside of the box and sit at the table where decisions are being made. Because when those decisions are made and it's brought to you, you know if it can work, yes or no. But if you're at that table, in the initial get-go,
yes,
you will be able to voice your opinion.
Impact those decisions.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Conroy Thompson, it
Yes.
has been a pleasure talking with you on Jamaica's Tourism Titans. You have a lot of energy, very positive energy.
Thank you.
You are willing to put in the work.
Yes.
You have been able to manage your time and to balance the scales. And you're just a wonderful human being.
Thank you.
And we thank you for your contribution to the industry, that which you have already done
Thank you.
and that which you will continue to make
Yes.
into the future.
Oh, yes.
And
Oh,
we
yes.
wish you blessings.
Thank you.
Poured, shaken, pressed down, and running
And
over. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for doing this, and highlighting. Last season was amazing. And looking at some of the pillars, we stand on their shoulders today. And I'm very, very grateful that I'll be able to one day to make those impacts
Yes.
in this industry.
Thank you so much. It's
You're-
been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in today to Jamaica's Tourism Titans. We'll catch you next episode. What good? Thank you so much for listening to Tourism Titans. We welcome your feedback at letusknow@tpdco.org. Leave us a comment, share, like, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TPDCOJA. I'm Marline Stephenson Dalley. See you soon.